السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وبعد. Alhamdulillah, we're picking up the series again after quite a few months. I think we started after Ramadan for a few weeks and then we had to stop because I had to leave. But alhamdulillah, we're back. We're starting with the series again. We're still on the 30th portion of the Quran. Alhamdulillah, we finished the last 10 surahs. We've started our way from Surah An-Naba, and we finished up to Surah Al-Buruj last time we met. Alhamdulillah. And so the next surah after Surah Al-Buruj is Surah Al-Taariq. And Surah Al-Taariq is also a Makki surah. It was revealed early on in the Meccan period. And like the early Meccan surahs, it focuses on the same major theme that is one of the three major themes of the Quran, but a lot of the early Meccan surahs are forceful about this theme, and that is the hereafter, the akhirah. And the emphasis on life after death, you'll be responsible for your deeds, and so on and so forth. And thrown into this is the theme of the Quran, and how the Quran is something that establishes the truth. It's not false, it's not a joke, it's not play, it's not jest, because the Quran is the means by which the message is being delivered. So therefore the defense of the Quran is existence throughout the different surahs and chapters of the Quran. But specifically here, a case is being made again for the reality of what the Quran is saying, regardless of the fact that whether or not people choose to believe it or they don't choose to believe it, it's still the truth. And so this is the major two themes that you'll find in the surah. Inshallah, we'll go over the first 10 ayat of the surah. There are 17 or 18 ayat in the surah total. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He starts, He says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والسماء والطارق وما أدراك ما الطارق النجم الثاقب. The first three ayat of this surah, loosely translated as by the sky and the night comer. And what can make you know what is the night comer? And it is the piercing star. So the name of the surah, Al-Taariq, is translated as, in some of the translations, as the night comer, or the one that knocks at night, or so on and so forth, right? So the word Al-Taariq is used to refer to something that comes to you in the nighttime, right? Taraqa means to knock, right, on a door or something. But this is the word used for anything that shows up at night. So when the word itself is general, Allah says, وَالسَّمَاءِ وَالطَّارِقِ. He swears by the sky, which is very easy to, it's a very direct qasam, very direct swear, that you know what the sky is. And then He says, وَالطَّارِقِ. And Al-Taariq is something that could be not quite understood. What is Al-Taariq? There are many things that can be referred to as Al-Taariq. So Allah says, وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الطَّارِقِ. And what will make you understand what that Al-Taariq is? And then He subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us what it is. What is it that He's talking about? Which thing that comes at night is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swearing by? And He says, النَّجْمُ الثَّاقِبُ. It is the star that is piercing with its brightness. The star that pierces with its brightness. So this is the oath. This is the qasam. This is the swear that Allah Azza wa Jalla is swearing by. In the next ayat, we'll see what it is that He's swearing for or swearing on. But He refers to these three things. And again, An-Najm al-Thaqib, why is the star called Al-Taariq here? Because again, the stars are things that show up at night. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using the word Al-Thaqib to talk about An-Najm, the star that is piercing in its brightness. And we know that stars in general, the ones that are bright, are usually all piercing in their brightness. They break through the darkness of the light. So it's definite here. What is An-Najm al-Thaqib? And it could be definite that the piercing star, but it could still be general, right? That one star that is piercing, or that collection of stars. But interestingly enough, in the books of Tafsir, they refer to something as a thuraya, right? Thuraya in Arabic means like a chandelier, but it's this formation of stars that the Arabs commonly knew and they referred to, right? And it was this formation of these major stars. In English, it's translated into Pleiades. Pleiades. Again, I don't really know what Pleiades consists of, but it's in the astronomical or the constellation of Taurus, right? So that combination of stars is generally what the Arabs knew as, that was the piercing constellation or something, because of its brightness and because there are a few clusters of stars that appear really bright. Even though there's hundreds and hundreds of stars, it looks like there's 4 or 5 or 6 major stars that are shining, but it's hundreds and hundreds of stars. So it is a huge creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's something which amazes mankind. It's something that they refer to often and would marvel at in the night sky. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing by that, right? Was-sama, again, there's been so many times Allah Azza wa Jalla has sweared by the sky. by all the things that are in the sky, the planets, the sun, all the things that happen above. And now he's referring even to particular constellations or groupings of stars that people themselves recognize. So Allah Azza wa Jalla is referring to things that they themselves would recognize, and he's swearing by the greatness of these things. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears by something, it is a testament to the greatness of its creation or the value that it provides, right? And we still use these constellations today to study, the stars and to, how the sky is moving, and to, before the sailors and people that would travel would use these as guides, right? وَبِالنَّجْمِ هُمْ يَهْتَدُونَ. Allah says in the Quran, by the stars, they find their way, they find their path. So these are all great creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then what is it that he is swearing on? So he swears by the sky and this Najm al-Thaqib, this constellation of stars. And he says, إِن كُلُّ نَفْسٍ لَمَّا عَلَيْهَا حَافِظ. That there is no soul but that it has over it a hafiz, a protector or a recorder, right? What is it? It can be understood in two ways in English, but really it's somebody that's recording something, right? And then Allah says, فَلْيَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ مِمَّا خُلِقَ مِنْ مَاءٍ دَافِقٍ يَخْرُجُ مِنْ بَيْنِ الصُّلْبِ وَالتَّرَائِبِ. Then so let man observe from what he was created. He was created from a fluid ejected, emerging from between the backbone and the ribs. So this is an interesting ayah, the very last one that we mentioned here. But what is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing on? He swears by the sky and the Najm al-Thaqib, this piercing star, that what? That every single soul has a hafiz, has a protector, a guardian, a recorder with it. Right? And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in another surah, he says, وَإِنَّ عَلَيْكُمْ لَحَافِظِينَ كِرَامًا كَاتِبِينَ. There are with you, amongst you, hafidhin, angels that record everything that you do, right? They write it down. They're very noble, they're honorable, they're trustworthy, and they write down every single thing that you do. And so Allah is telling us, right? Just like this star, just like you see the stars in the sky, just like you see the sky above you, know that every single soul has with it one that is recording and writing down everything that they do, min khayrin aw shar, with good or evil. Everything that you're doing, just like the stars are there, just like the sky is there, the reality is that there is a hafiz, there is a recorder that is with you, writing down every single thing that you do. And again, the idea here will be presented before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the Day of Judgment. There will be no power, nothing for you to be able to overcome that. It's going to happen. And that is a reality. And then Allah says, فَلْيَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ مِمَّا خُلِقَ. That let man look at or observe from what he has been created. The connection between these ayat, everything that you do in this world is being recorded, right? You will be resurrected again on the Day of Judgment, and so right now, you deny. These people were denying the idea that we can be resurrected after we have died. So Allah says, فَلْيَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ مِمَّا خُلِقَ. Let mankind to see from what it is that he came from. Where did he come from? How did he come into existence? And this will give you evidence for the reality of resurrection, right? The reality of resurrection. And then he says, خُلِقَ مِنْ مَاءٍ دَافِقٍ. He was created from a fluid, a drop, that was ejected from the human body, right? So this is referring to the seminal fluid, the semen, so on and so forth. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you, look at from what you were created. Look at what you are now. Can you imagine that you came from a drop of liquid? Something so simple, right? We see drops of liquid all the time. You see different types of liquid, different types of fluids all the time. How is it that something like this can create something like us? And you see this, the marvelous nature of something even beyond just our creation. You take a little seed, and that little seed becomes a giant tree. How can something so huge come from something so small? But Allah says, look where you come from. You come from a drop of liquid, and then He says, يَخْرُجُ مِنْ بَيْنِ الصُّلْبِ وَالتَّرَائِبِ. And that drop of liquid emerges or is ejected from between a sulb and the tara'ib. The sulb is the backbone, the thing that keeps you straight, and the tara'ib are the bones of the ribs on the either sides of your body. Now, interestingly enough, the Mufassirin have talked about this ayah, that we know that the drop of liquid that is ejected from our bodies does not come from between the backbone and the ribs. So what does the Quran say? Right? What is the Quran referring to? And alhamdulillah, subhanAllah, the scholars have worked with people from the doctors and so on and so forth to figure out what this ayah is actually talking about. And what we know in the process of how a baby is born in the mother's womb, right? The whole process of how a fetus becomes into a little baby, it's a step-by-step process. And things happen one by one. And one of the things the doctors they say is that the testes of a male, they descend, right? They're in the fetus. They're actually in the period of their formation are between the area that can be defined as the backbone and the ribs of a fetus, and then they descend into their place in the human body. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring not just to the origin of us, where we came from, how we were created, but to the origin of that creation itself. Referring to our parents and how that drop of liquid, originated in them, and then it came and turned into us. And the scholars also talk about how, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are the words of Allah azza wa jal. This is a noble Quran. إِنَّهُ لَقُرْآنٌ كَرِيمٌ. This is a noble Quran. The language that is used in the Quran is noble. So Allah azza wa jal is not going to refer to something that you and I don't refer to commonly and consider it decent. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does something more miraculous, and He refers to بَيْنَ الصُّلْبِ وَالتَّرَائِبِ, the original place where the testes are actually formed in the human, in the fetus, so that He can refer to something without referring to something lowly or things that we would not talk about, things that should not be mentioned in the Quran. So this is the miraculous nature of the Quran, one of the proofs of the Quran talking about the origin of even that, the place where your liquid is ejected from. So يَخْرُجُ مِنْ بَيْنَ الصُّلْبِ وَالتَّرَائِبِ. This is what it's talking about, again, as the doctors have now said, is talking about between the backbone and the ribs, where the testes form in the fetus when it is being formed. So Allah Azza wa Jalla again, but He's taking us back to look from where you came from. Look at where you came from. Look at what you were. You're denying the fact that you can be created once again. The sky above you, the stars above you, they're not there by themselves. You in this world, you're not here by yourself. There are people that are recording, there are angels that are recording what you're doing. And now look at yourself. Look how you came to being. It's a miraculous thing. A miraculous thing that you came into existence from a drop of liquid. And so Allah Azza wa Jalla is saying it's not difficult for Him to make you again. And that's why He says, إِنَّهُ عَلَى رَجْعِهِ لَقَادِرٌ. That indeed Allah is capable of returning him. عَلَى رَجْعِهِ لَقَادِرٌ. Now interestingly enough, there are a few opinions of the Mufassirin as to what this ayah means. The first interpretations come from what is the pronoun going to? إِنَّهُ, right? عَلَى رَجْعِهِ. That indeed Allah is capable of returning he or it. So if it means he, it's talking about mankind. Right? He's already been created, he's in this world. After his death, Allah is able to recreate him again. عَلَى رَجْعِهِ لَقَادِرٌ. There is another opinion that Allah is capable of returning him back through these stages, showing the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you started off as a drop of liquid, then as a fetus, then you were born into a baby, then you grew up into a young boy or a girl, and then you were a young adult, and then you were an old person. So one of the opinions of the Mufassirin is that إِنَّهُ عَلَى رَجْعِهِ لَقَادِرٌ. The ability of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if He wanted to, He could take you back through these stages. He could take you from being an old man to a young man, to a little boy, to a baby, to a fetus, and again to a drop of liquid. This is the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a show of His ability subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another opinion is that the pronoun here is it. So إِنَّهُ عَلَى رَجْعِهِ لَقَادِرٌ. That He is capable of returning it referring to the drop of liquid. The drop of liquid now, He can return it if He wants to. And the opinions, they basically mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can prevent even the ejection of that liquid. He can subhanahu wa ta'ala, if He wanted to, return that liquid into this original form where it came from, back into it. Again, take you back through the stages that you actually came from. And this is the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He's displaying in this world. If He wanted to, He could take you backwards through these stages. This is not beyond the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إِنَّمَا أَمْرُهُ إِذَا أَرَادَ شَيْئًا أَن يَقُولَ لَهُ كُنْ فَيَكُونُ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He intends something, all He has to do is